The truth about my Rolex Day Date 1 year into ownership. Now, this watch has really dominated my wrist time, and I didn't fully anticipate that. I thought that I would wear it a lot, but for every 10 days, I probably wear this at least 8 days out of that period. So it's really taken over my wrist time and made me as close to a one watch guy as I think I can realistically get to. It's also altered how I go about watch collecting, and there is one unoptimal aspect about this piece that I'll share a little bit later on in the video. But as far as the actual watch goes, I find it to be excellent. It's the perfect 40 millimeter size. It's not too tall, it's not too small, it's not too large or too diminutive. I think, the proportions are just excellent, and I find it perfectly versatile. There is nothing that it doesn't match. There is no outfit that it doesn't elevate to a degree. And I like the fact that it ties in or visually matches my father's old wedding ring that I've been wearing over, the past 20 years or so. I like that. Now it's visually dynamic with the bracelet, the president style bracelet, the fluted bezel, the deconstructed applied Roman numerals, and I find this to be perfectly performing. Just when it comes to shock resistance, magnetic resistance, the overall accuracy, the water resistance, although it is a very pretty watch, it's a tough piece, and I like that. I like the weight of yellow gold. I like the warmer hue of Rolex's proprietary formula of yellow gold compared to other brands that work in yellow gold. And I also enjoy the mix of complications. The day and the date is just very practical to use on a daily basis. And if you are like me and are biased toward bracelets, this has one of the most enjoyable bracelets in the business. I like how solid it is and how uniform it looks on wrist with the hidden clasp, just with that coronet being visible on the reverse of the bracelet. The nice thing about this is it has ceramic sleeves over the pins, so this bracelet will not stretch out over time and should look great in future years. Now, how has this held up over a solid year's worth of wear? And honestly, it's held up a little better than I expected. I thought that there would be a lot of hairline wear marks, especially in the polished areas, and that certainly is the case. But this does have a few dings and dents here and there that I've acquired. I don't necessarily remember when I acquired each little mark, but it has held up a little better than I anticipated. And I hope that that continues because gold is a pretty soft metal after all. Now, what do I not like about this? There is one thing that is a little unoptimal, but it's definitely unavoidable. And it might sound silly, but maybe you can relate to it. But it comes down to the perception that this gives off. And maybe you like the perception that this gives off, but this watch, at least the nickname, the President, came from its use by past presidents of the United States and other world leaders as a subtle display of wealth, of power, of success. It is a flex watch to a degree, and a lot of luxury watches and nearly all Rolex watches are flex pieces to a degree. But I didn't buy this to subliminally make a statement to others, even though this does make a statement about the wearer. A full gold purchase has been a many years long goal of mine. Maybe you relate to that. I've always wanted to buy a full gold watch, and I looked into Breguet, I looked into Lange, I looked into Patek and Omega and other Rolex models as well, but I went with my gut on this champagne dial 228238 because I've liked this design for years, well before I knew of its presidential connections. So when I look at this watch, I see it as more of a long-term goal fulfillment. That's the statement that it makes to me, but that's not the statement that it makes to others that notice you wearing this watch. And I know that it sounds silly, but it's an honest take on the realities of wearing a precious metal watch regardless of the brand. Steel luxury is a little easier to fly under the radar with, but you really can't do that with gold. The nice thing is 99% of people never notice the watch that you're wearing. And even if they, do, if they casually notice the light coming off of it, many of them will not be able to place a brand or a specific value on it. It's that 1 or 2% of people who scope wrists that will notice what this is. But hindsight being 2020, would I go back today and rebuy this watch knowing what I know now? And the answer is yes, I would. The watch is not most people's gold watch preference or favorite, but it is mine. I've loved the simpler life of almost being a one watch guy. I don't have regrets in that regard. Ownership has been awesome, and I have found that I buy fewer watches after getting this one. I'm more choosy about what I add to my watch rotation because they have to be good enough to break into some wrist time. I know there's not a lot of wrist time available, but they do have to be good enough to break into some wrist time. And so that selectiveness, it really has been a good thing for me. Now, the next question, is there anything that I want to share with those that are looking into buying this day date? And I would say yes. Get an appraisal through your authorized dealer when you buy it, and then buy a specific insurance policy on the watch. You would be surprised. It's actually pretty affordable to do. Put it in a safe or a safety deposit box when you don't want to wear it, and just generally practice good judgment on where you wear this and if you travel with it. I think that's common sense for anyone that buys a 5-figure watch. Now, lastly, do I ever feel like this is inappropriate to wear or uncomfortable to wear at times, just in different situations? And I've thought about this and nothing really has come to my mind, over the past year. And I think about the style, and I look at decades ago. It was more affordable. It was more commonplace to see people wearing solid gold watches. And I would like to see more of that these days. Be it a vintage watch, a gold vintage watch that has got a new lease on life, or a capped gold piece, or a two-tone piece, or a full gold piece. I would just like to see more of a resurgence in the style. I think it's a very fun style, and I hope you enjoyed my owner's perspective on this 228238. Please let me know if you have any questions, if you can relate to me. If you have any comments, please place those below. I would be happy to engage with you. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my watch channel. It really helps me out. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time.